Okay, yeah. So I'm here and I got my heart rate monitor on. You can kind of see it here. I had to put it on before I got ready, sync it to my phone. But what you're gonna see is I've already figured out my target heart rate, and I need to be above 70%. In order for HIIT to work, when you look at most of the studies, you need to be above 70% of your maximum heart rate, and that's just not 220 minus age minus 70. You try to individualize it using Carbonian formula, and I'll show you the math. Okay, so when you do it that way, you make it personalized for you. And so I found that my 70% is right around 140, 145, 140 beats per minute. Okay, so for HIIT to happen like it does in the studies, all the benefits that has to happen, I need to be above 140. Anything below that, I'm lucky if I get anything, unless I'm a beginner. In beginners, it happens at 50%, but in advanced or exercisable experience, it's going to happen at 70%. So in most cases, it's not a walk in the park, and you know, it's just not. It's not going to be exactly an easy thing. It's not going to be something where you can do 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, and do it for an hour. If you're doing that, I guarantee you you're too low, and you're going to see an example of this. Hi. Hey everyone, it's me, Chris from Body Nova Fitness Coaching. I guess this is the part two of that benefits of HIIT thing video. I had to split it into two because this lesson was becoming too long. I saw 16 minutes had passed, and that's usually a no-no for social media unless you guys tell me otherwise. What I did here is, again, with this HIIT thing, because most of you people aren't really doing HIIT, because there's a relationship between how hard you're working, how much effort you're putting in something, and how long it's going to take you to rest. So you'll hear, like I said, you'll see a lot of people was like, oh yeah, I'm doing Tabata, look at this, and it looks like a freaking walk in the park. And the sad thing with that is, well, anyway, let's not even get into that. But it looks like a walk in the park. And when you look at the studies, at Tabata, again, they had those athletes going above, having their heart rate go above a certain level. So, and it has to be individualized, because, like I said, everyone that has the same, at the same age, it doesn't have the same level of fitness. So some people their heart rate will jump very high because they're not in good shape, and some people it won't get as high, because they're in better shape. So you want to individualize, or you don't want to just say, okay, this is the heart rate, or say, okay, I'm doing this effort, or I'm using this piece of equipment, so I'm doing what I need to do, because in a lot of cases that might not be it. If let's say someone uses a 30-pound dumbbell, and they're let's say they're deadlifting or depressing, doing thrusters with 30-pound dumbbell. Well, 30-pound dumbbell is very light for me. Okay, so for me, it might need to be a 50-pound dumbbell. So people try to oversimplify the thing, not understanding that you need things to happen for the magic to occur. So that being said, I'll be going in the gym to to show you how this is going to work, or show you how hard you need to work, or maybe let's not say, to give you an understanding of the effort that needs to be put up, because a lot of this stuff with HIIT is about effort. We use these numbers to quantify, to put a quantifier on your efforts, so you get an understanding of how hard you have to work to get what you want. Now, will you be will you be able to do an hour? I doubt it. And the science will point to that that will be highly unlikely. It will be short. Some people have only done 4 intervals, 4 intervals a day, but they build themselves up to get more as they get into better shape. But either way that it goes, they still get all those fat loss benefits. Okay, so that being said, I use the Carbonian formula because it's very simple. They have Carbonian formula calculators So you don't need to do all this. All you need to do is find your resting heart rate. And there's an app called, gosh, what is that app called? Argus. I use Argus, and I would use Argus first thing in the morning, and you just basically put your index finger over the light of the camera when it lights up. In about 10 seconds, it gives you your resting heart rate. But you want as close to a true resting as possible. So I do mine, get up in the morning, take the resting heart rate, then get out of bed. All right. So you get it closest to a true resting heart rate. All right. So when I did that, my resting heart rate was 55. So normally people go with this 220 minus age, okay, for the maximum heart rate, and then they just take a percentage of that. But like mentioned in part one, that makes it so that everyone that is 46 years of age, 47, however old you are, that we're all equal. I've been consistently exercising, I would say, in some way, shape, or form. And I'm not talking just out playing as a kid. I'm talking, I'm running hills, I'm doing push-ups, I'm doing pull-ups, dips, whatever, since 11, 12, so, and I've never stopped. So I'm not the same as someone who probably haven't exercised in 20 years, consistently, and, doesn't try to take care of their health in any way, shape, or form. So we're different. So I'm doing this with me. So normally they stop at 220 minus age. So my maximum heart rate, MHR is maximum heart rate. All right. So I got my maximum heart rate, and I'm subtracting my resting heart rate of 55. Okay. So that's my heart rate reserve. In this case, it's 119 beats per minute. All right. So now this is where the individualization comes in. All right. So I got my heart rate reserve, and I multiply it times the intensity. Okay, so 70%, maybe could be 75, but we're in there. And I get 83, which would be 83 beats per minute. Now, mind you, when most people use this, I'm doing a little something different with this, because when most people use this, they do it in a zone. So they'll say, okay, well, this is the cardio zone is from 55 to 70 beats per minute. So you should be between this and that, okay? We're doing HIIT here, so we're not trying to keep you in a zone, because you're not going to be able to, if you do HIIT right, let me rephrase this. If you do HIIT right, you're not going to be able to stay there very long, okay? So I use the 70% as the threshold, okay? Because when I'm doing my sprints or my high intensity stuff, I want to be working hard enough to make sure my heart rate gets above this number, okay? Instead of between these numbers, all right? So I would take this 83 in the Carbone formula, and I would add my resting heart rate back in, and that's the low part, the threshold that I need to cross with my target heart rate, 138 beats per minute. But I always round up to 140, just because that's what I do. All right. Now, if you want to try to individualize your rest, what you can do is you can say, let's say if I go 70 and 55, okay, so I can do my HIIT, I can do my high intensity stuff, for however many times lasts, let's say it's 30 seconds, and then I start watching my heart rate, and I wait until it drops below the 55% number to see if I recover before doing another one again. That's perfectly fine. And I've done that, and it works, okay? Now, the research usually talks about work and rest ratio. So if I did 30 seconds rest, they recommend 3 to 4. Now, the problem is with research, it's a starting point, and sometimes that starting point isn't everyone's starting point. This is where the personal training comes in, because some people will take that and they'll make it the magic formula, and that's what it is across the board for everyone, always and forever, and that's great, right? Pure buffoonery, okay? Common sense has to kick in. If you got a person and they got a 30-second sprint, they can't pull it together in 2 minutes, then you might need to make it wider, with the understanding that in order to move forward, you might have to bring it back down to what's optimal. Or you got somebody at 1 to 3, they're resting a minute and a half, they might either need to raise the intensity, which on the sled, that might be pushing more weight. If you're using one of the forms of electronic equipment, you might have to increase the resistance, or shorten that rest from 130 to 115 to 1 minute, and you kind of see how that works. So when I talk about all those principles of progressive overload, those really apply with your HIIT training and making sure that you are finding ways to work harder, or finding ways to make sure that you're getting what you want. You kind of have to be, results oriented, or have your hustle mentality on, because your body's always going to be getting better. It's always going to be making you better, so you're not shaken up by this. So you got to find new ways to keep yourself being shaken up or make yourself uncomfortable, unfortunately, so you can get what you want. Because at the end of the day, you're doing all this to get whatever the heck you want. You want to get it. Okay, so I want you to keep that in mind. All right, so you have this, and also that may also require you, let's say a month goes by, or 2 weeks or something like that. That might also require you to, that might also require you to recheck your resting heart rate to see how much it drops or how much it improves, and redo this formula. But then, like I said, again, there's you can Google Carbonian formula calculators and just punch in the basic information, age, resting heart rate, and whatever intensity that you want to work at, and it'll go. Another note, if you're an extreme beginner to exercise, the research shows that you can get it at 50, that you can enter into what you need to be required to do HIIT at 50% of your target heart rate. But remember, you're not going to be a beginner for very long. Most cases, it's going to be less than a month, or actually 6 weeks. Okay. Between a month and 6 weeks, that's going to change. Okay. Enough to where that you're going to have to be going into the 70s. And that's kind of where another problem lies. Okay. So, you can keep that in mind, but for me, I will usually have people go at 70 and just stick with 70, and then alter and change things as I need to from there, because the research isn't exactly crystal clear on when a beginner becomes experienced, or beginner becomes recreational, or all those classifications that they make people. There's no crystal clear understanding or factors that says you are X, you are Y, you're this. So I usually keep everyone at 70 for that reason. So that way I make sure everyone gets what they want. Okay, so you're seeing this been about a minute after my last one, and I'm still registering 133 on the heart rate. It does come down if you get in shape. It comes down faster, but if you put the effort like you're supposed to, it's still gonna rise. So I had the treadmill turned off so that I had more resistance without risking safety. Because if you put it on, let's say I put it on 10 miles an hour, now I run 10 miles an hour, I fall off. Okay, then we're in trouble. But see this, I have to overcome the resistance of the belt, and that makes my heart rate rise, even though I'm not really moving fast. And that's good for a lot of people, because you have to be really strong to travel at high speeds. That's why a lot of your sprinters are not really large people, but they're really strong proportion of their body weight, at least in the lower body, because the landings from moving so fast puts a lot of shock on their bodies. All right. So we'll move on to the bike, and I'll do the same thing or something similar. Good heart rate. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so I'm up, started at 108, and by the time I got to here,
up in the 140s again, 146, right as I ended. So again, it's high, but with this one, I made the rest. In a lot of the research, they talk about 3 to 1, 1 to 3, or 1 to 4, which means 30 seconds work to a minute and a half rest in this case, or 2 minutes. So I have that, so I get enough time for my heart rate to come down, and then all the lactic acid, hydrogen ions to get carried out of the system so I can perform again. See, if you're really pushing, that stuff's not gonna clear in a short period of time if you're pushing high enough. Most people don't push high enough. They just think that HIIT, okay, I just go above normal. And it's like, no. In the research, you look at it, they'll say, okay, is this percentage of your VO2 max? Even when you look at Tabata, they're talking like over 100% of VO2 max, or 70% or more of your maximum heart rate. And again, I individualize that with carbonate formula. And it looks like it's about time for me to go again in about 15 seconds. You can stop it and just wait for the sprint. Take it outside of it. Just don't matter. So in this case, that's as high as 150. So again, I'm crossing above that threshold, because what happens is, you see I'm having problem breathing, talking. So your heart rate gets so high that you need oxygen. Your body's demand for oxygen can't keep up with your ability to supply with oxygen. So you burn sugar in the presence of or without oxygen. That's what creates the hydrogen ions. And then lactic acid is actually a buffer. People tell you lactic acid buffers. They've been reading the wrong textbooks. Lactic acid is also actually a buffer. It buffers the hydrogen ions. Y'all don't care about that. But anyway, so you have to cross that threshold. For everything that they said that you get from it, you need to cross that threshold. If you don't cross that threshold, you might as well just do regular old cardio. And there's nothing wrong with that for some people. But you gotta understand, if you're looking for the results that they got, you need to do what they did. Also, when I use any of this, one of the things I always do is I turn the resistance out really high, because sometimes if you take this up, if I don't have resistance, I'll be going real fast and we'll be out of control for this thing, because it's too much, it's too loud resistance and everything starts shaking and running around. So I turn resistance. So I have to apply more effort to keep it going, but in turn it's also make my heart rate rise higher. So with my heart rate going higher, that's where the magic's at. So for me, so 140. They got calculators for that sort of deal now, but if you're stuck on where to begin, you can drop me a message and I'll set it up or show you how to set it up. But also I use an app called Argus to set up, to get my resting heart rate. It's just simple. First thing in the morning, you just put your index finger over the light. It takes about 5 to 10 seconds, and it gets you your resting heart rate. Ideally, you want to get it right as you wake up, before you get out of bed. But it is what it is.